right, and welcome back to the Performance Injury Report. It is April 26th, 2021. It's going to be in the mid-70s this week. We had a beautiful Saturday, rainy Sunday, but hey, it's April. But I'm feeling good, Mark. How about you?
I'm feeling great. Can't complain. It's Monday. Like you said, it's going to be nice weather this week, so let's get after it, We're coming into May.
That's what I'm
Best
talking about.
time to be in Rhode Island and Massachusetts right now, this time of year,
Can't beat it. You really can't, unless you have allergies, because I heard Providence is one of the worst places to live for allergies. So get your Flonase and your Zyrtec. And,
I'm a Zyzal guy. I'm a Zyzal guy myself. Zyzal.
Oh,
Zyzal. Fun to say. Zyzal.
I'm going to have to try that stuff. Hey, if you're out there and you're watching with us, let us know you're here. Shoot us a comment down below.
Say hi.
Say
hello.
Let us know where you're watching from. And also, if you have any questions for Dr. Mark and I, you put them down in the comments below, and we will answer them. If you have somebody on your fantasy baseball squad, fantasy basketball, just one of your favorite players, and you want to check them out. Speaking of people's favorite players, I didn't talk to you about this in the pre-show, but Erod looked pretty good yesterday, 7 innings, so it looks like he's recovered pretty good from that complications after COVID, which is good. But let's jump into some big stories from the weekend. UFC Saturday night, Chris Weidman, first strike, at least the first kick of the fight. I was actually watching it in bed, and I almost threw up.
I woke up everyone in the house with my throw up sounds.
I was like, ooh. It was gruesome, to say the least. I've actually experienced the same injury, not in any sort of mixed martial arts, just in an accident. But I've broken both bones in my leg, both the tibia and fibula, and had to get the titanium rod inserted. So I'm not a professional athlete, but I kind of know what he's going through as far as surgery and what the rehab's going to look like. Mark, what are the chances of this guy fighting again, and what's his recovery going to look like? What's his timeline?
So that's a great question. So he's definitely, so I think the biggest concern is making sure he doesn't get like any infection or anything like that after the surgery. It's going to be a break, right? So like you said, broken tibia, broken fibula. The tibia is the big weight-bearing bone down that lower leg. So with most fractures, you're looking at like 10 to 12 weeks of healing time, that takes place. He's going to have the rod, so there's going to be some time where, he has to allow the healing to take place. The bone's going to grow around that rod, and it's going to come back stronger. Like usually bones will heal. When they do heal, the area of the fracture site is going to be stronger than before the fracture. So he'll have no problems with that, but it's definitely going to be a long road because he's going to get a lot of weakness because he's not going to be able to do a lot of walking at first. So he's going to have a lot of weakness he's going to have to overcome. Obviously, like the mental side of it too, being able to strike with that leg again and understanding that it's not going to, that's a freak thing that happens. That's not something that happens all the time. So the mental component probably will be a little bit more challenging than the physical component. I think when you look at like an injury like his, and then you compare that to like someone like Gordon Hayward or Dax Prescott, who had breaks of their tibia and fibula, but with some ankle stuff in combination. I think that this actually, even though it looks a little bit more gruesome, I think that this actually can be a little bit of a easier time. I'm not going to say it's easy, but we're going to use easier with like bunny quotes here. Easier rehab, because with the ankle, you're looking at ligaments. You're looking at like, obviously all the muscle tissue that happens when it dislocates and fractures. With this, which is a straight fracture of that lower leg, not to say just, it's a pretty severe fracture. However, given the extent of the injury, like when you look at someone like Gordon Hayward versus this, once that bone gets good healing, it's just about ramping up things slowly. With Gordon Hayward, that type of injury, you have to really make sure that the ligaments are having good stability. There's a lot of other things you have to kind of overcome during that rehab process. So the number one concern would be making sure that there's no infection. If he gets infection, then that's going to be a big problem and a big issue to come back from. Like Alex Smith had an injury in his lower leg. He had all the infection injuries or issues, and that's what took so long for him to get back. That's why he needed like 20 surgeries. He retired, I think, last week after we got off the call.
He did.
But he was able to come back and play football at a pretty high, reasonable level. I think that Chris Weidman will be able to fight again. Now, how effective he is as a fighter, I'm not sure. I think, again, like I said, he's going to have a big mental hurdle to get over with this type of injury, but he should be able to fight again. I would probably say like a year. So I would say probably like not until next spring, 2022. You probably won't see him really competing or fighting at a high level. And then it's going to take some time to kind of build his confidence back up as he does get back into fighting. But I think he'll be back. Those guys, obviously, they're really tough. That's why they do UFC. He's not going to be shy of the hard work because they work hard to get them to where they are now. So he'll put in the work. I think he'll be able to fight again. Just a question of how effective he's going to be when he gets back out there.
For sure. I know from my experience with it, I actually did suffer an infection that you're talking about, and I had to remove the hardware. My body wasn't loving it, but I actually felt 10 times better after the hardware was out. I didn't like having all those screws kind of rubbing up on my knee every time I moved, so I've actually felt better since. But that was a year later, a year after the fact. And
right.
Then,
it takes a while.
And then I had to recover from getting the hardware removed. So it is it's gonna be a long road for him, but I hope to see him back out there. It's just kind of crazy how things come full circle. He saw Anderson Silva suffer the same injury when he was facing Anderson Silva, and now he has that same injury happen to him. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
Well, we wish him the best and hope he's back out there sooner rather than later. All right, so someone we talked about earlier in the season, I think I could call him the $100 million man, but I think I'd be understating how much money he got in his contract, and that's Fernando Tatis Jr. He had a shoulder injury earlier in the year after he got that huge contract. It was, people were laughing at, here goes the Padres again. But then he comes back, and he had 5 home runs this weekend. He looks just fine. He's one of the most electric players in baseball, and he's just fun to watch. So obviously that shoulder seems to be all right, Mark.
Yeah, clearly. I mean, when you hit 5 home runs in a weekend, yeah, things are going pretty well. It'd be interesting to see kind of what happens long term. Obviously, we see that a lot sometimes in baseball. It's such a long season. That guys deal with stuff early on in the season. They try to fight through it. They try to play, and then usually sometimes around July or August, those issues that were plaguing them in the start of the season come back around like later on in the season. There's just a lot of wear and tear in the baseball season. So not out of the woods yet, but I think all signs point to things going in the right direction. Obviously, when you have the kind of weekend that he had. So just want to, obviously, like you said, they spent so much money on him. They just want to make sure that he stays healthy. The Padres have a good team this year, so they should be competitive into the late part of the year. So they're going to obviously need this guy to be a big part of that moving forward. So, they're going to look at him week to week, day by day, make sure that his shoulder doesn't have any lingering effects. Make sure that he's in the training room, athletic training room, make sure that he's getting his rehab in, making sure he's doing the right things to take care of his body. And I think that's what really sets the best baseball players apart from the other guys. Obviously, talent is one of the things, but the great athletes are capable and understand how to keep their body in shape to undergo. If you make the playoffs, that's almost a full year that you're playing. You're going from February to November, so that's a long season. So the great ones understand that's the case, and they know how to take care of their body. They have, all the recovery stuff. They do, making sure they're eating well and all that stuff. So it'll be interesting to see kind of how he goes about the rest of the season and if there's any lingering effects with this. But for right now, everything looks good. So hopefully he keeps hitting home runs.
Yeah, and I was way off on his contract, $330 million. So can't.
Just a little bit. Once you get over $100 million, though, like the rest is a drop in the bucket, right? Like
it's true. 14. I mean, spread that over 14 years.
Oh yeah. Chump change for you and I, Nick. That's what I spend on my couch cushions,
I wish. Another electric player in the MLB right now.
Yeah.
Ronald Acuna Jr. We talked about him a few weeks back having an abdomen issue, and I was talking about the twisting from throwing, twisting from hitting. Abdomen seems like a scary thing to injure, but he was back in the lineup this weekend as well.
Yep.
So pretty positive sign, Mark.
Yeah, good signs again. I still have a little bit of caution because sometimes with those abdominal injuries, people feel really good, and then he might take a swing. Maybe he's too early or too late, or maybe he's trying to overswing. That can kind of creep back in. There could be another muscle strain. But if there was like a muscle issue, he would have felt soreness or discomfort that next day. It wouldn't have gone away so fast. I wouldn't expect to see him in the lineup if there was some type of lingering abdominal thing. So you got to think that all things, he came in the next day, they worked him up, they got him moving, he felt good. So maybe it was one of those things they're just trying to be overly cautious at this time of the season. Because again, like we just said with Tatis, same thing goes for Acuna. He's a big part of the Braves. They're going to need him to make a run deep in the season. You could probably say those two guys are the best two, athletes in the game right now. I don't think many people would argue with you, or probably two of the most exciting guys. So they're going to need Acuna Jr., so they're going to want to obviously be very cautious with him. So, that's probably what happened. They felt a little strain during that swing. They just said, take him out. We'll reevaluate tomorrow and see how it goes. And he only missed a few days. He was able to get back in the lineup over the weekend, and there's no information that he had any lingering effects after those games as well. So great news. Again, just want to evaluate day to day, week to week to make sure that abdominal injury isn't turning into something over these next 2 or 3 weeks. But everything right now looks really good. So that's good to hear. I had originally said he might be out for a month or something like that, but not the case. So it looks really good. So that's good news for you Braves fans out there.
Yeah, it is great news. I mean, baseball's 162 games. It's just so long. So it's definitely not a sprint. It's a marathon. So they got to stay healthy throughout. But we will be updating you guys out there as more information comes out. And if, these guys start missing some more time and whatnot, we will report on that. Anybody else that you guys want to hear about, you got to make sure that you put it in the comments below. If you can't join us live, that's okay. If you're watching this after the fact, make sure to put them down in the comments below, and we can talk about them next week. Mark, I'm going to throw a curveball at you. Do the Patriots draft a quarterback in the first?
I'm going to say yeah.
In the first 3 rounds.
Oh, I see what you did. You saw me. I was pretty confident. I was like, I'm going to say yeah, and then you changed it up on me.
Yeah.
I'm going to say yes. I'm going to say yes, Nick. I'm going to say yes because either they're getting a quarterback. I think they're going to get a quarterback. If not that first 15 pick, then they're going to try to get one in the second round. So I'm going to say yes on that. I'm going to say yes. I'm bullish on yes.
Second question. Do they pick somebody at 15? That means they could move up or move down.
Yeah, they're going to pick somebody. They're going to pick somebody because I have faith. Bill Belichick understands that they need talent. They need first-round talent. Now is not the time where you trade down and you get more picks. That's not what you need right now. You have plenty of picks. You need talent. You need first-round talent.
I mean, I'm
going to say yes.
I'd say that they somewhat loaded up in free agency. So now it's time, instead of getting more bodies in there and playing the numbers that one of these guys has to be good. I think they got to go for the sure thing. I'm with you. I hope that they either trade up to 10. I'm hearing some rumblings of that and go after Justin Fields. The other rumblings I'm hearing is they wait till the second or third round and draft Kyle Trask. So we'll see. We will see. Yeah. But in Bill we trust.
That's right. I had a question for you, Nick. I got a question for you.
Okay.
Would you rather have lobster claws for hands or a tail? Which one? And why?
What kind of tail?
What's that? Like what kind of tail?
Like a dog tail that I can wag?
Yeah. Well, why don't we do this? Let's do like a prehensile tail that you could like hang from. So like think possum or like monkey, like not a chimpanzee, but like some type of spider monkey, like a prehensile. You could wag it, right? People would understand that you're happy or scared, but you could also hang from things,
Hands down, tail. Like
tail. All right.
You can't do anything with lobster claws besides.
You have vice grips in your hand. You could do lots of things. You could vice grip everything. Think about the grip strength you could have.
I wouldn't be able to type. I couldn't.
You could. You need to get a new job. We have to set up something. No, text to type to talk to text. That's what you would need. But like no door, you'd be able to open every door that you ever. No door would be. But you wouldn't be able to be locked because you could just you'd have such strength in those claws. You just crush that doorknob and then you're in that room. So there would be no door that you couldn't get into, right?
Yeah, you're not selling me on it. I'm going tail.
All right, fair. Okay, that's
tail.
Fine. That's fine.
I'm assuming you'd go lobster hands.
I don't know, Nick. This wasn't about me. This was about you. This wasn't about me. I'm not sure of my answer yet.
All right.
Ask me next week. Give me a week to think about it.
All right.
I'm gonna try picking things up.
all this and more, join us next Monday around 1 o'clock for the injury report. We will be able to report on who the Patriots draft, if any of those guys had some injury concerns in college, and answer any of your questions. So make sure you join us, and make sure you let us know you're here, and put your questions in the comments below. Mark, thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much, Nick, for having me. Everyone have a good week.
Everybody enjoy. Be happy, healthy, and safe. Peace.
Like, whoa.
I wouldn't be able to click end broadcast right now if I had lobster hands.